Hello, my name is Caroline Keach and I'm the team leader for student services at Truro and Penwith College. The student services team have an overview of all information, advice and guidance at the college, and as part of that we have a view on progression, which includes applying to university. So today I'm going to talk you through the support that's available at college for supporting our learners to apply to university. So in terms of things that are available for the students, we generally, on a normal year, have higher education talks that are going on. And that's where we generally invite speakers to come to college and talk on a range of subjects. They promote their institutions, they promote their particular sort of academic subject, and they talk about what it's like studying at university. Now, at the time of recording, they are saying that there is a UCAS fair, which is going to be available. The nearest one to us is at Exeter, and that's currently booked in for May. But we have to say that we fully expect that may be withdrawn. However, again, my team are currently putting together a UCAS virtual fair where we will offer all of the information, advice and guidance that would normally be offered at the UCAS fair, but in a virtual alternative way. So for those of you who haven't heard of a UCAS fair before, it's basically generally a conference where lots of providers attend, lots of different institutions, and they basically promote what's available at their institution. So we'll be putting that together as a virtual offering as well this year, even if the UCAS fair does run. Then in the tutor groups, the tutor group plays a very sort of important part of supporting your learner to apply to university. And the personal tutor is a real link for them, basically, the person that will mainly support them to do their application to university through UCAS. And that process will start sort of generally in the tutor groups post-Easter, where they'll start with some general sort of research, thinking about whether you want to go to university, thinking about what sort of subject you might want to do. So that will be starting post-Easter, and then that will be building up to the June 2021 ILP day. So that will be a day where students will be off timetable and they'll be supported by their personal tutors to start their university application. So other good sources of sort of research that are available to the learners. The subject lecturers that are teaching the young people are a great source of information. So if you want to know what it was like studying psychology at university, then your psychology lecturer is definitely the person to talk to about that also. The student services staff on my team can also advise on a broad range of things related to going to university and progression. So by all means, access student services information also. The UCAS website is fantastic in terms of information about applying to university, and not just applying through UCAS. They have pages that cover everything that a student would really need to know about applying to university, about the finances, things to consider. So the UCAS website is absolutely fantastic, and the universities themselves have very good websites, and particularly in the sort of lockdown context that we're in at the moment, the institutions are working really hard to be able to sort of get the information out to students that they need, to do kind of virtual Q&As, to buddy up sort of existing students with prospective students for September. So check out any institutions that your young person is also interested in applying to. So things to think about in this sort of initial starting to think about applying for university. So firstly, the kind of subjects that you think that you might be interested in studying. Some students will have a really clear idea on that. Other ones will still be deciding, and that's fine. So it's filtering down into the things that, that learner most enjoys and most thinks that they would want to study at university. And other things to consider are, how are those courses packaged together for the young person? So how long are they lasting for? What's the content of the course? So when the young person goes on those websites for those institutions, really important that they look at the units that are going to be studied, they look at how they're going to be examined and assessed and what support is in place and what's the kind of structure of that course. So is it a 3-year, is it a 4-year with some kind of work experience? And all of that detail is really, really useful. Other things to look at, obviously the entry requirements. So what grading is that institution saying that it requires for that particular course? And also some really pragmatic, practical things like where is that university based? Is it a city? Is it a rural setting? How close is it to Cornwall? We always say to our students, you've actually generally got to live at that place for sort of 3 years at least. So you need to be really, really happy with that place that you're going to choose to stay for that length of time. Also looking at sort of what accommodation is available. Lots of students like to perhaps consider living in halls, for instance, in the first year to find their feet, and then maybe possibly living independently after that. And also, do you want to apply and go straight after college, or are you considering a gap year, which again is something that you can get advice on through the Student Services team. Other things to have a look at when you're looking on the university websites also is universities will now publish things like their student satisfaction surveys. They'll publish information on how many staff to students, what the ratio is there. They'll also publish their teaching excellence framework, so how they're graded. They'll publish information on amount of contact hours that the students might have with academics and those types of things. So well worth doing some good digging on the different kinds of institutions that you're looking at and sort of comparing those and making sure that you're happy with the offering. So in terms of the application procedure itself, at the moment and running through to that sort of ILP day, it is sort of proactive research by the students and obviously sort of with support with their teaching team and their personal tutor. Open day visits to universities, obviously we are hoping that some of those will be possible physically so that you would be able to actually, go and visit some of those universities. And if that is at all possible, we would definitely encourage you to do so to get a feel for the place. But there are also lots of universities that are offering virtual tours, which can be really useful, and lots of online events. When I was actually at our Leavers Day last summer and I was talking about our students who were graduating and going on to university, some of them said that they actually felt better prepared than they thought they would have been because they had been sort of buddied up with existing students. They'd got sort of WhatsApp groups going and things like that with students that were already studying at the institution that they were going to. So they really felt sort of well prepared and happy about sort of making that move. So then you'll be applying online through UCAS from September 2021 onwards. Then some courses will invite you for an interview, some won't, it just depends on the course. And then, the student sort of gets those offers back in once that university application has been sent off via UCAS. And then the student then makes their final decision about their firm choice and then an insurance choice. And then it's just working really hard and waiting for those results that come back later in the year. Some deadlines to be aware of. So any learners that are thinking of applying for any of the early applications, so that would be things like medicine, veterinary, dentistry. If you're considering applying to a music conservatoire, for instance, there are early application deadlines for those courses. And within the tutor groups, any tutors that have early applicants, obviously if those applicants make themselves aware to their tutor as soon as possible, and the tutor will support them to get that early application ready well within the deadline. So this slide shows you the kind of UCAS screen in terms of the application itself. So this is what we will be getting students to log on to at the June ILP day. And then the students sort of fill in all of their information with support from the tutor. They'll write their personal statement. etc. And that will go on the application there. So sorts of things that need to go on there. So education, so all qualifications that are already achieved, so the GCSE results or any alternatives will go on there, and predicted grades for the ones that are awaited. Also any employment history, so if the student has had part-time work or work experience, they can also add that on. The personal statement is written by the student, and again we give support and guidance on how to go about writing a personal statement. The personal tutor will also read every student's personal statement, probably more than once, and will give them some feedback on that. But it's the student's chance really to sell themselves to an institution in terms of why they want to apply for that institution, why they want to apply for that course, and that they're interested in it and that they have the skills to succeed. But lots of support from the personal tutor on that. And then the personal tutor also writes the reference for that student, which is done in conjunction with that student's teaching team. The price at the moment for the September 2021 cycle that we're just going through at the moment is £26, which is paid online, and that gives the student a chance to choose up to 5 different choices. Or if they know that there's only one that they actually want, they can put in a single application for £20, but that is relatively unusual. So then after the application has actually gone in, there is a tracking system, so students and staff can see what's going on with that application, and they can see any responses that are coming in from the institutions because those come via UCAS. So then once all the offers come in, later on in that year, the student will decide which is their first choice of institution and course, and then what's their second choice or their insurance choice. And we always support students to make a decision that sort of insurance choice should be one with sort of lower entry requirements, but the one that they're very, very happy to go to. So lots and lots of advice on that. And then again, as I say, it's working hard to achieve those good results and make sure that they're achieved. There is a system called UCAS Extra. So if a student applies and doesn't receive any offers, or the student has changed their mind and rejected any offers, then there is an extra system where a student can sort of reject and open up some other choices. There's also the UCAS clearing system, which opens at the beginning of July. And that's a system where students can change things on their sort of application in terms of courses. So sometimes with clearing, students are looking for a backup. So maybe things haven't gone quite as well as they wanted. Equally, students can use clearing to trade up. So some students who do better than expected can use the clearing system to see what's available, and lots of great opportunities on clearing that are publicised by Russell Group universities. So yeah, lots of opportunities there for students to have a look at.
I'd like to tell you now about opportunities available locally. So within Cornwall, as part of the Combined Universities of Cornwall, there are a number of different higher education opportunities. At Truro and Penwith College, we have around about 500 higher education students. All of our work is with the University of Plymouth, and also some of our courses are supported by edXL. Last year, we had 66 students from within the college who progressed to higher education courses, again, at Truro and Penwith College. So we did a survey and we asked them why they chose to stay within Cornwall, and particularly to stay at the college that they studied at. Their responses were that the reputation was outstanding, that the college has already achieved the TEF Gold quality standard. So TEF is the Teaching and Excellence Framework, and the college has received the highest accolade for that. The support that is available from the teaching staff and the support staff at the college is second to none. The accessibility to staff was something that was very high on their list of reasons for choosing the college, because they knew that they would get plenty of support from tutors and from support staff, and that they would be able to access those staff regularly. Of course, the living costs could well be much less, particularly if families are supporting the students and they're living at home. Staying in Cornwall for the lifestyle, for part-time jobs, links with family was also seen as a very important factor. So we offer at the college 9 full level 6 degrees. So by full degrees, I mean to honours level, which would normally take 3 years. So you can see the range of courses on the slide, ranging from computing technologies to media to archaeology to health science, education, human behavioural studies, and so on. But our courses are divided into 2-year courses and a top-up year. So in order to get the honours course, students would do the top-up year, the final 3rd year. But prior to that, we have 21 foundation degrees, which are 2-year courses, which potential students would study, and then progress on to a top-up degree if they wanted to. Students can, of course, progress straight into employment from a foundation degree because there is a significant link to employers in every foundation degree. So students don't have to go on to do their level 6, but they can if they so wish. So we have what we would describe as clusters or families of courses where a range of foundation degrees will lead into an opportunity to then study at level 6. We also have 3 higher national diploma courses, which are geared for those students who wish to go into employment following the qualification. So in summary, the advantages of staying locally to study for higher education, the excellent teaching that the college is renowned for, the fantastic resources that are available to students and staff, the fact that students can achieve their full honours level qualification within the college and then actually go on to do postgraduate study if they wish, the accessibility and the lower living costs. And I think as well, it's really important to stress that in most cases, the classes would be much, much smaller than any university type experience. And for some learners, that's a preferred way of learning. Not everybody likes to be in a large lecture theatre environment. Some young people and some older people would prefer to be in much more intimate classes. And that's something that is available at the college. So what I'd like to do now is to talk about the routes into higher education from students who are on vocational courses. So offers will refer to grades or UCAS points from the level 3 courses. We'd strongly recommend that students check the entry requirements for all of the courses and particularly look back at GCSE requirements because some universities are specific about some of the grades that they wish students to have achieved at GCSE level. So the next chart shows you the extended diploma grades and the cash diploma grades alongside the tariff points. So for example, if someone achieved 3 distinction stars, that would be 168 points. And if it was 3 merits, it would be 96 points. So universities will either say they would like a student to achieve 2 distinctions and a merit, 3 distinctions, etc., or they will give a points score, which equates to the tariff. Extended diploma students tend to choose related vocational courses at university. Not always, but generally a student, if they're moving on to higher education, will have already started that vocational route at college. So they tend to choose something that's related. Each year at this college, we see an increase in numbers of vocational students progressing to higher education. And last year it was way over 350 who moved on to study a whole variety of vocational courses. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague to talk about finance in higher education.
So now an overview of finance in higher education for students who are going to be starting in 2022. So I'm just going to go over a number of areas that involve the costs involved, the types of loan that are available, give you an idea on sort of repayment costs and the extra help that's available and information in this area. So some key messages that we'd like to put over about going to university and the costs that are involved. Firstly, that students don't have to pay any fees up front and that they don't have to start to repay any loans until they've left university and they're actually earning over £27,295. And then when they do start earning over that amount, the repayments are based on how much they're earning, not on how much they borrowed. Loans are also written off after 30 years and repayments are made direct from the salary. Other key message, anything where we're applying for sort of financial support, always best to apply early. So as early as possible, from February, student loans should be available to make an application. And the earlier the learner applies, the earlier they'll be getting those payments and to make sure that there's plenty of time for that to be processed. So firstly, in terms of costs, there's sort of two aspects to that. So tuition fees can be up to £9,250 a year, but then there's also the living costs that the students are going to incur. So accommodation, food, travel, socialising, all of the other things that go with living away from home. Again, just a reminder sort of when to apply, we would always say the spring of the year that they intend to start and really sort of as soon as possible. Now, in terms of the loans, everyone can apply for tuition fee loans. These are not means tested. And the Student Finance England company pay the loan directly to the university. So this is specifically related to paying the tuition fees. Then the maintenance loan, which is the element related to the living costs, that does depend on where you live and where you study. That is means tested, so they will look at things like household income. And Student Finance England pay that into the student's bank account at the start of each term. Okay. So some examples, if a student was living at home, and this is all for academic year 2020 to 2021, then the maximum amount of maintenance loan that they could have is £7,987. Whereas if they were living away from home and outside London, it would be up to £9,488. If they were living away from home and in London, so obviously there's a premium there because it may be more expensive to live in London, then that would be up to £12,382. And if it was a year studying abroad as part of your course, it would be up to £10,866. And just to give you some other examples of maintenance loan based on household income, we can see there that if the household income is £25,000 a year, if the student is living at home, we've got that £7,987. If they're living elsewhere, it'd be £9,488. And if it was in London, £12,382. And skipping down to the bottom of that table there, if household income is at £75,000, if the student was living at home, they would still be able to have a maintenance loan of £3,516. If they were living elsewhere, £4,422, and if in London, £6,166. What is quite a nice resource to have a look at is the Student Finance Calculator, and we've put the address there for you to have a little play with that and see, to give yourself an idea of what you might be able to apply for in terms of that. There may also be extra funding available if a learner has a disability or a health condition, or a learning difficulty, or if it's a low income household. There may also be other funding that's available dependent on the type of course that you're applying for. So if it was possibly teacher training or dental, medical, healthcare or social work, there may be other funding that's available for you. So in terms of repayments, the tuition fees and the maintenance loans are added together to make one loan repayment. It starts in the April after the learner has graduated and left university, and it is automatically deducted from the salary each month. There are no repayments until the learner's earning over $27,295. So up until that point of earnings, no repayments are being made. And if a salary goes above that and a learner started repaying, but then it subsequently fell below that, again, that repayment would stop if the salary falls below £27,295 and the loans are wiped out after 30 years. Now, to give you some example of the types of level of repayment, so we can see there on the top left where we've got that £27,295 earning threshold. If you were earning that amount on a monthly income, you would be getting £2,274. But because that's on the borderline, there would be no monthly repayment at that point. As we go up to sort of 30,000, you'd be earning £2,500 a month, and the monthly repayment would be £20. And you can see there on the table, as your earnings go up on the left, your monthly repayments are going up on the right. Lots of extra help is available in terms of sort of financial support, and this is very sort of individual and specific to different institutions, to different courses. There are lots of different bursaries that are linked to personal circumstances, and lots of scholarships that are available, either based on sort of the students' academic results or sometimes on their ability in certain areas, if they're particularly able, for instance, in sports or music. Always ask at open days, whether they're virtual or face-to-face. You can do research via university websites, and there can be sort of local pots of money that are available for funding for local people also, or some professional and accreditation bodies associated with particular types of courses. So well worth doing your homework, having a good dig around and finding whether there are any extra bursary help that's available for your particular course.